Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah if we haven't connected before, and my channel is all about personal transformation, gaining more confidence and having the best life ever. And today I wanted to talk to you about anxiety within relationships. Now first of all, I just want to make it quite clear, I'm talking about relationships that are kind of healthy relationships or figuring out whether they're healthy relationships. I'm not talking about abusive relationships. I think the first thing that we have to be really, really cautious of is if we are in a relationship where we are encountering any kind of abuse, physical, emotional, mental, even spiritual warfare, that will cause anxiety, obviously, in your relationship. And so really my tools are to connect you with yourself, to do some self-reflection and discover whether the anxiety is coming from the situation you're in or whether it's being triggered because there's deeper stuff lying underneath, which is what my experience was. And of course I can only talk about my own experiences. Yours might be quite different, but however, we can all learn off one another. And that's why I like to share this information because, for a long, long time in my relationships, I blamed other people for the anxiety that I felt. And yes, there was some behaviours that were not helpful when I had anxiety issues, which is often, if we go and look at attachment styles, we will often find that we match up with someone that actually does draw that stuff up to the surface, and there's a good reason for that. It's because we can learn from that. And what I learned through my experience is that my anxiety was heightened because of the relationships I was in, but actually had come from far before that, my childhood. And so I was being drawn to people that actually, in some weird way, it felt normal to be in that state, because I didn't even realize that was something that everybody didn't feel. I mean, you only know what you feel, right? And if you've lived with it for most of your life, you think that's just normality. So my relationships were showing me that this was something that needed to be addressed. And of course, it took me a long, long, long time to figure that out. So I want to give you some tips so that you can help. You can notice things within yourself, within your relationships that may resonate and help you on your journey. So really, first of all, you've got to ascertain, is it the environment that you're in, or was it triggered in you a very long time ago, and that just the things that are happening within your relationships are just bringing it up to the surface all the time, like insecurities, abandonment wounds, fearfulness. Once again, if I go back to anxiety, to attachment styles, if you're a fearful avoidant, it means that you're fearful all the time and things will come up all the time. And quite often you do find yourself with another fearful avoidant who you're triggering each other, and you're just projecting stuff all the time onto each other. Sometimes it's actually, go back to the first point is that nobody else is responsible for your feelings except for you. And so, when we're always looking to the other person or blaming the other person for the way that we feel, we're never ever going to fix it. So that was, a big mistake that I made. I always was blaming the other person for how I felt instead of taking ownership of my own feelings and learning to nurture myself through those feelings and recognize. What was a game changer for me was I was doing a healing session. Someone said, when is the first time that you felt these feelings? And they took me on a bit of a journey in meditation. And of course, it was as a small, small child when I would, call out for help, call out for reassurance, and, it didn't come. And, it's not because your parents aren't bad parents. It's because sometimes there's other stuff going on, or they can only do what they know as well. So we've probably all got instances where our needs weren't taken care of continuously, and there'll be one instance sometimes that, just really hit home and you felt like there was no one there for you. And so little behaviors within your relationship can trigger those, like I was always having these stories, if they loved me, they wouldn't do that. And of course, I'm not talking about abuse. Let me be clear again. I'm talking about, and of course, if someone's being abusive towards you, that's not loving, that's not respectful. So, really get some help around that. Finding a good counsellor can be really helpful. Finding good healers can be really, really helpful. They shifted me hugely in my relationships and my relationship to myself. Because the bottom line is, if we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, we can't have a good relationship with others. And we've got to do that deep work. We've got to do that. I'm feeling anxious. Why am I feeling anxious? If it is because of somebody else's behaviour, then where are my boundaries around that? Where is my communication around that? Am I just being passive aggressive? Am I just clearly stating, that's not okay by me, and then standing in your truth? And if they want to continue behaving like that, then you've got choices to make, and you really need to make them. And if you can't and you're stuck there, then that's again where you need to do that deep work so that you can make the decision to get out of a relationship that's not working for you. When we're fearful, we often feel powerless. We feel victims. We feel like we've got no choices. We feel like, especially if you've got abandonment stuff going on, oh no, what if I never find anybody else? You know what? If you never find anybody else, it's still better than being with somebody that doesn't value and respect you enough to stick up, abide by your boundaries and your values for yourself. If you're letting people treat you in a way that is not respectful, you're disrespecting yourself. You're abandoning yourself. And so if you keep doing these cycles, you'll never shift. You'll just stay stuck, and we all deserve to have a beautiful relationship, a heartfelt, open, vulnerable relationship. We have to be able to do that with ourselves first, once again. So, really honing down, pinning down where that anxiety is coming from. Is it just coming from what they're doing, or are you telling yourself stories about the way that they're behaving means a certain thing? It comes to love languages. Once again, what are your love languages? If you know that spending time is your primary love language, and then somebody else's is something completely different, then they might not see spending time with you as being, really, really important. So being able to communicate and saying, instead of complaining, saying, I really love it when we spend time together. I really value spending time with you. If we're being needy to someone, though, that's a real turn-off. That's especially if somebody that's not their love language and you're wanting time with them all the time because you're needy, that's going to push them away. So then you have to look at where that neediness comes from. What's going on for you? When did you first feel like that? And when you can address and do your deep inner work around that, making those decisions to shift out of something doesn't seem as nearly as scary. Believe me, I stayed in relationships so way, way too long, trying to fix them ultimately. If they would just do this, then it would be okay. And, of course, if the finger's pointing out, it's actually turn it around, put it back to you. You are the only person you can change. You are the only person you can fix. If you're not getting something out of a relationship, hey, what are you putting into it? Are you being the loving, beautiful partner that you would love to be in relationship with? And if you're doing all the giving and you're not getting anything back, then, that can cause anxiety too. But usually it's fear, obviously, that's causing the anxiety. So look at where those fears are coming from those childhood wounds, and do the inner work to heal them. Heal yourself and the anxiety will go. Use your self-care, your self-help tips, nurture yourself. I was always looking to other people to nurture me. And I still catch myself from time to time doing this. But when I give myself permission to nurture myself and say, it's going to be okay. It's actually going to be okay. You're okay. You're okay. You know, I connect with nature. I take a beautiful bath or shower. I put some music on. I soothe myself in a number of ways. And sometimes I'm journaling it out. But tapping into those tools and not expecting things from other people that you can't give yourself. So those are my tips for dealing with anxiety within relationships. And I hope they're helpful to you. Like and subscribe to my channel if this resonates. I'm trying to grow my channel. I really want to help as many people out there with as much information as I can. I have loads to share. And we're all here, you know, to help and uplift one another. That's the purpose of life, I believe. So, yeah, reach out and get support if you need it. And know that you will not be stuck forever if you're feeling really stuck. You know, when you start making small shifts in your life, they become big shifts pretty quickly. All of a sudden, you make that transition. You know, once I did the work on myself, I left relationships really easily and I haven't looked back. And guess what? I'm still actually friends with them because they've learned and grown from the experience too. And it doesn't have to end nastily, which is what a lot of people go through as well. If we're conscious about it, you know, we can just know that it's not aligned for us anymore. And you know, the old paradigm of being with somebody forever and a day, it's not always how it's meant to be. Sometimes you're just meant to be with somebody to learn what you need to learn, and then you can move on, and you can both move on and be free to find other things and potentially other partners. So much love. Namaste.